All right, so I'm back with a continuation from yesterday. First and foremost, I just want to say since yesterday was 9/11, the anniversary of 9/11, my sincerest condolences are with every single person who lost a loved one or was impacted that day by that horrible tragedy. It's been so many years after, and even just yesterday being 9/11 was pretty grim and some would say even scary. The past week since the last Mercury retrograde and a bunch of other things that have happened since have been very scary. And I genuinely think that it's the best time to put a lot of my thoughts out on paper and in video with you all. And I do want to share, my own experience of, weapon violence in this country. And I think that this is something that really needs to be addressed. And I think we can all see by the state of the world that something is, gravely wrong with society, especially in America. So from what I can see with the latest, they have said that there is a suspect in custody in regards to the September 10th incident. It appears to be, for now, from what I saw, that the father of this young man, who didn't look young in the pictures, by the way, but the young man that's in custody, from what I saw, they said that his father was the one who turned him over. It was his dad who turned him over, and there's really not much about what's going to happen. There is some reports that his parents were Republican and that he himself is a Republican, which it's not confirmed yet. It's not confirmed that that is the case. But personally speaking, I don't really think that it matters much if they're Republicans or not, if he's a Republican or not. I think that there has been a very long history of people getting their hands on things they shouldn't have their hands on and doing a lot of damage. I don't know if the reports have changed, if there is any students that got affected. I don't know. I genuinely don't know if there is any other reports of other students getting affected. I don't know. And there was hundreds of students that witnessed that. There was so many students that witnessed that. And I'm going to assume that class is canceled. I think class should be canceled. I don't see why any of those students should still be going to classes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it would be fair if any of these students or teachers have to resume as normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, they really shouldn't, because honestly speaking, it's gotten out of control. You know what I'm saying? I think that what's been happening is insane. And I do believe I made a video about this. I'm not sure what year. I can guess, but I don't want to guess when it comes to, facts. I don't want to guess. And I think that it's got to a point now where it's beyond words. And I think that there needs to be a lot more done than what's currently happening. I don't think that enough is being done at all. which is really, really sad. So I had my own situation when I was at a mall with a friend. And when I entered in, I realized that, wait one second, let me just make sure I'm back, guys. I had to do something real quick. I'm back. So I wanted to share about my own experience because I think it's really, really important. And my experience was when I was in a mall with a friend, and I can't explain it except obviously divine protection, divine intervention. Okay, my audio's perfect. Thank you. Thank God. And so basically, as soon as I got in the mall, I was checking for the exit signs. And it was crazy to think about now because I remember I sat down and I told my friend that I felt like changing my shoes because I had wedges. I had wedges on. And I was telling her that I felt like changing my shoes. And so literally within seconds of me changing my shoes, all of a sudden I see hundreds of people running this way. And when I also checked the exit signs, I was also checking for if the elevators were working. The big thing about that was me checking to see where the exits were. Now, I've never done this before, okay? On average, I don't have to do that. I can normally just walk in a mall and shop and everything is fine and I don't have to worry. But this particular day, I was looking for the exit signs. I can't tell you how, I can't tell you why. I was just looking for the exit signs, and I noticed that the elevators looked weird. Like the buttons on the elevator looked pretty decayed, like very, very old. It wasn't up to date. You know, the mall wasn't up to date. And I quickly checked off my mind that, okay, the elevators are not safe. And I don't know why. I don't know why that I chose to do that, but I just felt like, you know, it was almost like something took over me and was protecting me, you know. And I spoke about that on the video that I made yesterday at the very end for the, because that was an over 2 hour video, which it was supposed to be 2 hours, but it ended up being 2 hours. when I'm pretty passionate about a subject and I've done a lot of research on different topics, it's pretty easy for me to talk for an hour, you know what I'm saying? Especially when I know that I'm, you know, I've earned my spot, you know what I'm saying? Like I've earned my right to be on YouTube. I've earned my right to be on these platforms, and I've worked so hard. And those who've followed me for such a long time, like I've worked incredibly hard to have what I have. And so within seconds, I saw people like running for their lives. And it was like surreal. It was completely surreal. And I remember running past the parking lot, running past cars in the parking lot. Very quickly, I saw a camera crew, different, you know, news channels pull up to the mall. And that was when I think now, looking back at it, like this is now, I think, when I should have maybe, you know, taken more action to get out of here. You know, I think maybe when I experienced that and my, you know, college professors knew about it, it was a really, really big deal in my state. And she apparently gave my story to the president of the school, like different organization at the school, and it was surreal. And like even to this day, when I go in a mall or I go anywhere shopping, I check. I literally always have to check for if somebody came in with something and tried to do harm. My mind automatically goes to, where can I run to? Where can I escape? Where can I go? Because it's just not safe, you know, it's just not safe. And I think that this is something that I'm now beginning to sadly have to accept. I think But this way of living is something that I've had to really like accept, because even after that incident happened to me, nothing really in particular changed, you know? There seems to be a lot of violence, you know, and for the record, for those who would assume certain things, for the record, that area that I was in and that mall that I was in was very affluential. This was a rich area. This was not like in some hood or tucked away in a bush. Like, this was where multi-million dollar houses are, like one of the richest cities in my state, and still is to this day. And it wasn't far from my university. It wasn't far from my university. So I really do think that this is a cultural deficit. This is a cultural issue that the needle has not moved away from. And unfortunately, I think that I really feel like people who have children should be concerned, and the parents of people who have decided to, you know, take their kids out of school, which they shouldn't have to do, but you know, there's been this wave, I should say, of parents who have been taking their kids out of schools and homeschooling them. And there's also been this trend of, you know, entire families, entire bloodlines deciding to leave because they don't feel like it's safe. And I don't know. I honestly genuinely don't know how American born and bred parents can have their child experience harm, experience being in the hospital, having, and you know, the hospital bills in America are crazy, by the way. The healthcare in this country is insane. I don't want to know. I don't want to know how it feels to have a child and that child's in a hospital bed with tubes in them, and let alone in critical condition, and they're wanting you to pay for that crap. And on top of that, then face the media. And these parents have to go to the media and say, why was my child's life not more valuable than these weapons? And I find it ironic that there is still this dialogue and temperature in this country of people who are trying to concoct things that simply don't exist. Okay? There is these young people and old and all of the other ages in between that are in these households, that are in these families where owning these weapons are the norm. And I really think it's time for the American people and America as a whole to look in the mirror, and question why is this okay? If that guy who is a suspect, right, in this situation, okay, if he is a suspect, right, how did he get those weapons? How did he get it, right? How was he allowed to, in broad daylight, go on a college campus and do what he did, regardless of party affiliation? Why was this young boy taught to do what he did? Where did he learn it from, right? Like, if he's actually the one, excuse me, gotta get some water. Because I spoke for 2 hours yesterday, guys. I was tired. I was super tired. But what concerns me, right? What concerns me is they're being taught something from somewhere by somebody, okay? They're being taught by somebody. These people who are going to hotels, I'll never forget, oh my God, and my heart still yearns to this day about this. I will never forget, I will never forget the Las Vegas incident at the, what was it, Treasure Island Hotel or Treasure Hotel, right on the Strip. And I have been, by the way, I have been to Nevada many times. I love Las Vegas, Nevada. If I was a multimillionaire, I would back then I would have had an apartment there on the side for vacation, because I've been there. It's like a vacation destination for me. But nowadays, I don't know about that. Maybe 5, 10 years ago, if I was older, I would have been like, I love this place. Let me get a timeshare. Let me get something. But not anymore. Not anymore. And in that incident, it was a I think 60 or 50, either 50s or hopefully not 70s, but an older gentleman who went to, Caucasian gentleman at that, who went to the hotel, and they had the country music festival, and took a lot of lives, took many lives. And I remember that. I remember as clear as day seeing all the headlines of people running for their lives, running for their lives, scared out of their mind. And nothing has changed, guys. Nothing has changed. And respectfully, if other American people say, well, that's the price of the alleged Second Amendment, if that's the price of carnage, then I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of a country like that. I don't want to live in a country like that. And it's just not safe. You know what I'm saying? It's not safe. And speaking of Las Vegas, there has been so many people who have stopped going to Las Vegas and have stopped going to certain states in this country because their biggest concern is safety. Okay? The biggest thing they talk about is safety. It's not safe. It's not safe. So, a couple years back, they would come to this country, with their money, with their luggage, with their hopes of what the vacation's going to be like, spend thousands, some people spend thousands of dollars, guys, on plane tickets and hotels and trips and fares and all types of shit. And they had a good time. They come to this country, they go on vacation, they try to have a good time. And the data, the math, the numbers show that our tourism is down. In my state, the tourism is down. And on average, our tourism is very high. People come in all times of years, especially would be Christmas and spring break. Spring break is a big one. They come here and spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of money. And now they're not coming. They're not coming to our state. They're not wanting to be in our state. So to me, if all people are going to offer is thoughts and prayers, then what's the point? What's the point? Because this is something that I think America really needs to understand, is that other countries in the world do not accept this. They don't have, statistically, the problems we have. They don't have these constant carnage events. They don't have it. And for some reason, when you draw attention and tell somebody that other countries don't have this problem, it's like an echo chamber. It's like silence. It's like nobody can pick up what's going on. Like nobody is confirming or denying that statement. But that fact remains. There is no other countries that have these problems. They don't have these problems of kids wanting to learn, of kids wanting to go on college campuses, and they're in fear for their life. Okay? So if there's not going to be anything passed or anything that's like a public announcement of, there has to be some kind of atonement, there has to be some kind of correction, then to me, I don't see anything changing. I don't think that anything is going to change. And if their excuse is, well, these things happen, then my response would be, no, these things don't just happen. No, they don't. They don't. They don't anywhere else in the world. And why is it okay? Why is it okay for this to happen to us, to American citizens? This happened on a college campus, guys. This happened in broad daylight. This wasn't like in some back wall alley. This wasn't near any gangs. This wasn't, in a crime infested area. This was in Utah. That incident in particular was in Utah. So I am really at a loss for words. And somebody else brought this up, and I wanted to bring this up as well, very, very lightly. When we lost 2 Democratic lawmakers, I think it was Milwaukee. It was either Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or Minnesota. One of the 3. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't really remember which exactly state or city it was in, but I think it was a blue state. I think it was a blue state. I think, and if it wasn't, then obviously it wasn't. But I try not to remember those things. It sometimes things are so traumatic, guys, that I try not to remember. But it's like, I know that was recently, and this guy was in a mask. He was in a prosthetic mask, and he went to their door and took their life. Took the dog's life. Took a couple's life, and I know Joe Biden was at the repast. There was all these vigils and stuff like that. There was all these people praying, but I don't recall the same response. There wasn't this immediate signal for the flags to be half-staffed when 2 Democratic lawmakers' lives were taken, and white at that. If they, because they're obsessed with race here in this country. And their lives were taken by somebody who thought he as well was a martyr. Their life were taken by a person who thought that he had the right, because in his eyes he was, I think one of his standpoints was the anti-abortion thing. So in his mind, these 2 lawmakers were standing for that, or something of that nature, and other things that he didn't like about their beliefs and their stance. And he took their lives. He dressed up. He had a weapon. He went to their main door of their house and took their life just like that. And that was at night. In fact, the guy posed in a police car. And had all the fixings of a police officer, went to the door and took their lives. And so people on social media are saying, where's their flag half-staff? Where is their respect? Where is the respect for people who have served this country, are lawmakers, literal lawmakers? Like, where's their attention? Why aren't they getting attention? Why is it only people that are of a certain party getting attention? Why are not all American citizens that lose their life in general getting attention? So for those who just joined, I've had my own brush with tragedy multiple times in this country, and I think for my mental health and my well-being in general, and just, liking to not be a part of drama, and wanting to be a calm person in general, I've, tried to refrain from dwelling upon things that I've seen, that things that I've witnessed, the things that I've been a part of that scare the hell out of me. I've really like tried to refrain from it. And so when that incident happened to me, my school knew about it, but I never like expanded upon it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure I made a tweet about it. If I didn't make a YouTube video, I'm shocked, because at the time when that happened to me, I had my YouTube account. You see what I'm saying? So if that happened to me and I didn't make a YouTube video, I would be shocked. But I think that I posted somewhere. Maybe, I think Instagram, it could have been Instagram. But when that happened to me, and I couldn't access my car because my car was on the, when they have those malls, guys, and they have like, okay, perfect examples, IKEA. At IKEA, when they have like the parking lot in front of the furniture store, and then they have like the other buildings that stack upon each other, and there's cars like here, cars here, cars here. My car was on the top floor facing the sky. I was like, I was on the top of the garage parking that was outside, and where I was parked, my car was here. And when you walk across, there's the doors of Macy's. So I was parked in front of the Macy's when that happened to me. And when that incident happened to me and I ran for my life, because there was what they claimed was there was a scuffle. There was a scuffle between two people in the mall, and one had a weapon, and the weapon went off. And it was like a pop noise, like you could hear it from a distance. And that's when everybody ran out the mall, and I ran. I mean, it was like insane. And the whole mall was sectioned off. Like, we could not access anything. If you said that you lost, if you say that you ran for your life and you left your phone in on the floor somewhere, and if you just get 2 seconds to go in the mall and get it, like, they would not let us do anything. Why? Because it became an investigation scene. It became a crime scene. It became a scene where if you pass this area, you're tampering. So my friend's car at the time, she was parked a different location where there was restaurants, that was not where the mall was. So thankfully, she had her car somewhere else. We didn't park in the same place, because if we parked in the same place, we would have been screwed. So she parked somewhere else. I parked where the mall was, that entrance where the mall was. And until basically like 11 p.m. something. I think it was like close to midnight. Close to midnight. And the officers were not very nice either. They were actually quite rude to us. And my friend was not too happy about that. And yes, she was Caucasian, so I could talk. And blonde and everything. My friend was blonde, blue eye, like, she white girl. Okay. So when they talk about it's just brown and black, and no, like I said yesterday, like, white Americans are experiencing the same abuse now. Like, things have changed. Like, they're experiencing the same level of abuse, and the rude treatment, and the disrespectful treatment, right? And so she was telling like an officer, like what are we supposed to do? Because I have to get home. I was not near my house. And of course, we would never prepare, think that would happen. I mean, I prepared mentally, but you don't know it's going to happen to you until it happens, right? So when she told the officer, like, what are we supposed to do? Is there a phone out here? Like, what can we do? And so fast forward a couple hours, it could have been maybe even 2 a.m. I think it was like between 11 p.m. and like 2 a.m. was a time frame in which I got my car back. And it was like crickets, like you couldn't hear a pin drop. Like, it was so surreal. It was so eerie. And, and, it's crazy how I recovered, honestly speaking, because I will tell you, the first few months after that happened to me, I was jittery. Like, I would be if I was in Ross, doesn't matter where I would be shopping, where I'd be at, whether it's Walmart, Target, you name it. Like, for the longest while, I was really, really scared. Like, I was very jittery. Every little possible sign of somebody looking scary, or a scary noise or an echo, I would go right back in that mode of like, I gotta go, I gotta fly for my life, I have to run for my life. And so for about the first 2 years, I was severely traumatized. And now it's gotten a lot better where if I'm out shopping, you know, I don't have as much pins and needles. But after that happened to me, even since, I've really not been able to physically shop, which means like I'm not able to stay in a store for a long time. So my mechanism has switched from, you know, being fearful and, you know, looking around me and which I should never have to do. You know, nobody in America, I think, should have to have this culture of when they go shopping, they're scared for their life. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is not normal. You see what I'm saying? So to this day now, opposed to, you know, watching around me and in this kind of like terror, instead what I do now is I shop very, very quickly. And that goes for grocery shopping as well. When I grocery shop, I am like, I gotta get out of here. Like in my head, I'm like, I gotta get out of here because I realized and I know how easy it is for someone to just walk in a store, have a weapon, and take your life. And so, after what's happened and what we're seeing in the news, all this violence and all these school incidents and things going on, now, present day, reflecting upon what happened to me and my brush with that experience, I genuinely have had enough. You know, I've had enough. And I realized that from the pandemic to, you know, gun violence and everything else that's going on in this country, for me, it really does feel like the end of something, the end of something, the end of a way of living. And I don't know how it's been so normalized. I think the most the most thing that really, really just kind of boggles my brain is how normalized this is. It's been normalized in American society to shop at Walmart, to shop at Walmart and have the possibility of somebody coming in there with a weapon. It's been normalized that if you go pick up your kids at school or you work in a school or you go to a college campus, it's been normalized in our minds in American society, living in America, that this is normal. And it's not normal. And I will tell you guys, when you really work on yourself, when you really love yourself, you don't put up with this kind of thing. You know, like when you really have done a lot of work on yourself, like spiritually, emotionally, even physically for some people out here, when if they're into, you know, fitness and all this other stuff. When you've really like worked on yourself and you really love yourself, you don't accept toxic environments. It's very hard to put a healthy person in a toxic environment and they stay there. So with that said, I think that the Kirk situation on September 10th, for me, I think was like the final pin drop. For me, that was when I really just felt like, you know what? We have certain people in certain places, wickedness in high places, and they're not leaving anytime soon, guys. Okay? Like, people keep hoping for certain things to happen. Well, guess what? It hasn't happened. You know, it hasn't happened. So for me, as I've said to you all, and I'm saying to all my subscribers, I really don't think that this is going to change, because there's been no effort, even from what happened to that guy. There's been nothing in legislation that has signaled that because this happened to this person, we're going to try to rid you know, the streets of this. We're going to intercede into family homes and try to get people to change their minds, change their cultural beliefs, change the way they raise their kids. Like, there has been no infomercial, there has been no, you know, system alert that said, we have to put a stop to this. We have to put a stop to this way of living, you know? And I just think that why would it take this long? You know, if something does happen and does change, my question would be, what's taken so long, you know? So I'm not gonna wait for any shoe to drop. I'm not gonna wait for any shoe to drop. And I genuinely feel like I have worked too much on myself. I love myself way too much to keep staying in a toxic environment. And I genuinely mean that. Like, I have really done so much, you know what I'm saying, to help myself, to better myself. Um, and in every sense of the word. And I feel like, what is it going to take? You know, is it going to take another school having, you know, 100 plus kids injured? Like, it shouldn't have to take more violence for things to change. And so this morning I had another idea, a new idea, you know, of what I want to do and what I could do. And the conclusion I came to is that, okay, well, if they're not going to, listen, if war breaks out and we can't enter the country again, like if you know, those are US citizens, like, if we left the country. Okay, I'm back, guys. Sorry about that. So, okay, I'm back, guys. Sorry about that. So, I had a conclusion this morning, okay, that if war breaks out, okay, which is a big possibility right now because a lot of people don't like us. If war breaks out, okay, uh, if US citizens who leave the country, right, if they say that, you know, once you're out, you can't get back in, I'm willing to deal with that. I'm willing to accept that. Okay. I'm more than willing to accept that. Okay. If there was a war or an outbreak or another pandemic, or if something tragic happened and and US citizens left the country and they said that, you know, if you can't come back because right now, you know, there's ongoing war or there's an invasion or something like that, then so be it. Okay. Then so be it. So I've come to the conclusion that like, for my well-being and, you know, peace of mind, which I think I deserve, I think we all deserve that. I don't see how this is healthy for me. I don't see how it's healthy for any of you watching me. I don't get it. I don't know how people, especially people that have kids and their own kids have witnessed all this carnage. Like, I don't know how they just sit there and say, yeah, you know, business as usual. You know, I don't know how they as a parent, as a parent, as a spouse, I don't know how they sit there and accept that. I would not accept that. You know what I'm saying? Especially if somebody that I loved, life was taken by that, by a weapon. I'm not going to wait for more carnage to happen. I'm not going to wait for more tragedy to happen. I'm not going to wait for the next shoe to drop before getting my act together. So the strategy and an idea that I'm playing with right now, that I'm pondering on, just so you guys know that, you know, genuinely care about me and care about this channel, is I am considering that, okay, maybe I can, you know, leave America for the remainder of this presidency, okay? Depending upon the results, of the midterm, if there's even a, if there's if there's even gonna be a midterm, okay? Because there's a possibility that I may not even be a midterm, right? I mean, we don't know. We're not living in the same America anymore. So I thought to myself, okay, if this is still gonna carry on, this carnage, this drama, this infighting, this just absolute asinine craziness way of living, then I need to go. I literally need to, for my safety and for my well-being, like I maybe need to go for a couple years, and then when the next presidential election, if there's even going to be a presidential election happens, I could possibly, come back. But I have a sneaky feeling that, and I will just tell you guys up front, like if I do leave and where I move to is a lot better than here, and I'm happier, I'm healthier, I'm flourishing, why would I come back? I wouldn't. I would only come back for vacation to see family, right? Because I have a lot of family. I have family everywhere in the world, by the way. But I mean, I would come back to see people that I love. And besides that, there wouldn't really be a reason to come back. So I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I can only speak for how I feel. I can only speak for what I'm going through. And I genuinely don't know how people can get up every single day and see their state, their city, their loved ones witness this, experience this on a daily, literally on a daily basis, and then keep living in the same country, the same state, the same city that all this carnage is happening in. I don't understand that. Especially those who are, of immigrant descent, because a lot of people are from, immigrants, right? Maybe they're the second generation immigrants or first generation immigrants, and they've been naturalized, right? They've done the process, which is what I did. I'm a citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen, but I'm not proud of this country right now. I'm not proud of what's happening in America, and I haven't been for a long time. And I really do feel like I've reached my point, my limit of like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Like, I don't care what party. I just feel like this has been too normalized. It's been too normalized to walk in a hotel, to walk on a college campus, to walk into a place of work and take lives. And what I'm saying is, this does not happen anywhere else in the world that we know of. Besides North Korea and other dictatorship areas, this does not happen. Civilized countries don't have this happen. And so, is America civilized? Is America a civilized country? I don't know. Because in my experience of living here for over 2 decades, this just feels like the wild, wild west. This just feels like anything goes. And if I don't like you, I don't like what you stand for, I don't like how you look, I'm just going to take your life. And what I'm saying is, that's not okay with me. I'm not going to wait to have children in this country and then my kids are also victims of this. I don't want that to happen to my family. I don't want that to happen to your family. I don't want that to happen to me. So I don't know. I don't know. I think the difference is that there are some people who are born in this country, their grandparents are born in this country and their great great grandparents. And so they have a lineage here, right? My lineage does not come from America. If I was born in this country, I think it'd be different. But I'm not born in America. So I think my perspective is, well, why am I gonna try to build a family, build a life somewhere that is unsafe? I don't think that any intelligent person would want to build a life somewhere that's not safe. So I don't get it. I don't Respectfully, I don't get it. I don't understand. And I think that you know, people who are Americans, born Americans, they never had to get naturalized, they never had to apply for citizenship. People who are born in this country are from birth, like they're the ones who I think have to figure something out, because if you're gonna have your whole family here and this is the culture, then it's gonna happen again. You know that, right? Like these things are gonna keep happening unless something is, legally done, like legislation wise done. So for those people watching and they'll say, oh, well, I want to go, but I don't know how. And you're an American, you're a born American citizen, right? There's tons of ways. There's tons of things you could do. You can apply for visas. Like I said, there's some countries right now you can seek asylum in. You can go to for up to a year. I can name a couple, but I don't want to, advertise for them. But there are some countries, if you're curious, that are taking Americans in as that are seeking asylum, that are terrified for their lives, that can go other places. Canada, for example, is right over the border. I mean, like, you could literally apply to live in Canada. You could apply to live anywhere. So I don't know. I don't understand the idea of staying put somewhere that's not safe. And I'm not gung ho about having children right now. It's not really on my radar. But by God's grace, if I met a nice person and I really wanted to, you know, um, start a family, I'm thinking about safety. The first thing that I'm thinking about is safety. Is safety. And I could not imagine having a child in a country that hates you, that doesn't care about your well-being, and doesn't care what happens to you. That's really hard for me to fathom. And I think the only reason why it's been accepted is because that's the norm here. That's got to be the norm, because if Americans are not bothered by this, then what are they bothered by? What are they affected by? Um what do they don't accept? Like, if there's nothing that bothers them about this, then are they basically saying it's okay? Are they basically saying that, okay, because I don't like you, I can just take your life? Like, that doesn't even sound civilized to me. That sounds actually insane to me. It sounds insane to me. So I don't think that all these thoughts and prayers and candle visuals are going to do it. I don't think that people going to places to pray is going to do anything or change anything. All people that are what they call copycats, some people are called copycats, where they see one person do it and they want to follow, they want to imitate it, and they're going to keep doing that. They're going to keep doing that. So I don't know. I don't know how people have been able to for so long, live somewhere that doesn't care what happens to you, doesn't care if you lose your life. And if I lost my life in this country, if my life was cut short in my 20s just because of gun violence in a mall shooting, then that could happen to anybody. And that's what happened to me. And so I really do feel like that's when I probably should have, realized that, wait, this is not changing. Like, this is not changing. And there's no way that, unless something legislation wise is done, that is gonna make anything not continue. And so I think people have to realize that. People have to realize that this is become the norm. And until it's called out, and until it's not normalized and not homegrown, because what's happening is there's certain people that are in these households and they have access to weapons, and they take their father's weapons or they take their mom's weapons, and they invade. They're invading places. And unless that suspect gets taken out, they can do damage. They can do severe damage. And this has been happening every year. I think that the rate in which there has been carnage has significantly increased every year. And I don't see why this is okay and why people are so confident that this is going to change. I am not confident that this is going to change. This is 2025, and we've had these issues for as long as I can remember. So the luck in life that we have to use. I believe that. I believe it's important to use the luck you do have, and to be aware that if you have an opportunity to save yourself, you should take advantage of that. And that's what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? I think that I would be silly to not understand and see how unsettling this is. I think I would be very, 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 very strange to feel uncomfortable living somewhere and nothing happens. And nothing happens. So I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't. And I have to come to grips with the fact that you know, if this doesn't change and things don't get better, then this is how it's going to remain. You know, you're going to be still shopping at a you're going to still be shopping in broad daylight, and the possibility of someone coming in and taking your life is still there. If nothing on a government level is done, that means therefore you have to accept the possibility that you're going to be going somewhere and your life is going to be taken. And my life could have been taken at a very, 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 very young age. If I did not know better, and if I did not have the ability to protect myself, my life could have been gone very, very young because of the lack of policies protecting us in this country. And for me, that is devastating. It is beyond devastating. So I don't know. I think that people that are concerned should consider to leave. And if you want to have children one day, if you want to be in a safe environment, you got to make certain changes. And until those certain changes are made, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to get done. Nothing's going to get fixed. Nothing's going to get fixed. And I don't want to deal with this anymore. And it's not going to be easy. You know, I'm going to have to, there's going to be a day where, I'm at an airport, and I'm gonna probably make a video about it. I'm actually going to make a series about it. I'm gonna be documenting it for you all. And it's tough. It's tough to accept that this is how it's gonna have to, be. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to share it with you all because that was a very real thing that happened to me, and it should have never have happened to me, and it should never have happened to all these other people that have come to this country, whether they wanted to or not, and they've lost their lives. And the fact that even American people are losing their lives from other Americans, I think, speaks volumes as well, right? The fact that other Americans have lost their lives at the hands of other Americans, and there's nothing to buffer it. There's nothing to stop what's happening. So I have a lot to do. I want to thank you all again for your support. I want to thank you all again for the continued support, the viewership, the likes, the hearts, the subscribes, the shares. I am really, 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 really grateful. And I think that this is a turning point. And regardless of anything even is legislatively done, the culture has to change, because a young person in a certain household that's exposed to certain things can still go on the black market. They could still find, they're going to find a way, which is very sad to say, but there's a culture of they may still try to find a way to get things in their possession that they shouldn't have in their possession. So I don't know. I don't think that anything can really be done. I think that the whole trope of thoughts and prayers is ridiculous. I think it's actually an insult. I think it's an insult when people say my thoughts and prayers, because the thoughts and prayers should have I mean, more should have been done. Like, the question I have is, was there any people? Was there even any security? Like, regardless of people not liking him or not, like, was there even any security checking these people? Like, was there any barriers? Was there any systems that if there's a weapon, if there's like a magnetization weapon system where if someone has something on them, can there not be a system where they go somewhere, if they walk in a certain zone, that a system is alerted? Because I saw a video of the alleged suspect now that's in custody, and the video showed him walking to the campus. It showed him walking to the campus, walking on the campus. And so my question is, the school's big, right? The school is massive. And not just that the school is massive, but there's all these doors and there's all these, passageways, and there's all these fields. So a lot of American schools are very, very big as well. So that doesn't help. So if they don't want to go through the football field, but they may try to go through a side entrance. You see what I'm saying? So there's not really like any way to stop it, is what I'm saying. Like, unless they change a lot of things, like, and they put certain things in place, how is that gonna be? How is this gonna stop? Because the person they have in custody walked on the premises. So nobody checked him. Nobody stopped him. And on top of that, if he's a certain profile, they're not going to stop him. They're not going to question him because to them, he's just a kid. But the guy was able to find a way in. I don't even know. We don't even know if that's even the person legit. I mean, the dad is saying that he turned him over, but at the end of the day, we don't know, because some people said he was on the roof. And then the question be, how did he get on the roof? How did this person get on the roof? So it's not adding up. So is there not a machine? Is there not a surveillance or a security system where they can go and pick up that there's something on the person? Like when you go to the airport, right? I mean, 9/11 once again taught us a lot. Like when you go to the airport, right? They should have systems in America where when you're putting your bags through, or you're walking through, the system should be alerted. So I don't know. For sure if when the plane hijackers of 9/11, I don't know if they had the system go off on them. I don't know. But they may have not. They may have not, because they may have not had a weapon on them, right? With the 9/11 thing, they may have just walked on the plane. They weren't like this guy at the school that had a weapon, right? They were hijackers. So being a hijacker and being an assassin are two different things, right? Running to the cockpilot and taking over the pilot's job is not the same thing as a school shooter. So, but what I'm saying is, what's alarming is it's in America. It's happening in America. And all the money that this country has, why is there not better systems? Why is there not better security? Why is there not better things put in place that even in schools, they're gonna have to spend the money. They're gonna have to invest. But like I said, it's not supposed to be prison. You know, when you're walking on a college campus or you're walking on a school campus, it's not supposed to be like a prison. You know, it's supposed to be a free area to learn, to live, to laugh. And if you turn the school now into um, a unit, then how are these schools gonna look like? What are these schools gonna look like? Are they gonna look like prisons? Like, are they gonna look like barbed wire? I mean, what is gonna happen? What's gonna have to happen, you know? So I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. I've seen enough bad headlines. I've lived enough tragedies, you know, in my state in particular. I've seen too much. I've experienced too much. And now I'm concerned not just for all of you watching me in America, especially, I'm concerned for myself that this is a point of no return. And it's gotten to a point now where they may not care and they may not make any changes. They may just keep things as usual. And then if we're the ones who are going to be um, chopped off, then they don't care. Because even in his own words, you know, it's worth it. No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And I'm sure that he regrets that. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that he regrets saying that because no, it's not worth it. I don't think that this level of violence is worth it. I don't. I don't. I believe in being able to protect yourself. Of course I do. Anybody with common sense does. I believe that you should be able to protect yourself. But the problem is that people are switching, right? People that are, um, even young people especially, that are raised in certain households, they're being taught to do this. Okay. And that's why I don't think it was Nancy Grace. It was somebody else said that these parents should be on trial. The parents should be on trial because you're exposing your child to this type of violence, this type of training, you know, like you're exposing your child on how to use deadly weapons. And so that's a cultural problem. That's a family structure issue. That is something that within the family, within the fabric of that culture is severely wrong. And it could be anybody. I want to make it very clear. This could have happened to anybody. This could have happened anywhere in America. And that point of it is, to me, unforgivable. That if it was the wrong day, it could be your child's school. It could have been your parents' school. It could have been your cousin's school or university. And to me, that's why I'm saying that it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. And how long are we going to put up with this? Um, like I said, I've seen enough. Like, I've been in America for over 2 decades. 2 decades, not by choice, by the way. And now that I'm an adult and I'm able to, you know, make my own decisions with my own life, and I've graduated, I feel like this doesn't make any sense. You know, like this is not a way to live. And you know, I will be, well, let's not take it that far, but I would say I was gonna say I would be praying, but I mean, as we know, thoughts and prayers don't do shit most of the time. So in this country. So what I will say is my heart is with Americans who are torn. You know, there's a lot of Americans who are torn. You know, they don't like the condition, the way they're living. They don't like how they're living, but they're American. They were born here, you know? So I think it's harder if you're born somewhere and you don't like what's going on, but your family's here, your whole family's here, right? Maybe you have your own kids. So your choice is going to be more severe than somebody else who is just an immigrant or a naturalized citizen. It's not going to impact as much because, like, to be frank with you, because I wasn't born in this country, but I am a citizen of this country, it's not the same thing, right? It doesn't hit the same. Like, yeah, the devastation hits the same, but the idea of leaving, the idea of relocating does not hit the same because I'm not even born here. Versus if somebody's born here, they've lived here their whole life from age 0 to 1 to whatever age they are now. They've built up a whole life, a whole way of living, right? Their daily routines, where they work at, their friend circle. They have put roots here. They have lived here all their lives. And so I respectfully, I don't even want to even know what that feels like. I couldn't imagine. I actually could not imagine being born from a country that's this discombobulated, that's this violent. I would not know how to feel. So I empathize, right? I empathize with people that genuinely don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. They don't know how to feel. You know what I'm saying? So my heart is with you if you are torn. But I would say your safety comes first. Your well-being comes first. Your security comes first. And this did not happen in the Bronx in New York, right? This didn't happen in the ghettos in LA. This happened in Utah, suburbia Utah. And so if this kind of violence can happen in suburbia Utah, then nowhere is safe. And that's just the reality. And until people wake up to that reality, they're not going to get it, what's going on here. They're not going to understand the severity of what's going on here. So I'll keep you guys updated, for my own privacy, for my own security, for my own well-being. I'm not gonna say everything in real time. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I make a plan and I already have a plan, but if I'm executing the plan and I am in real time in another country, I'm not gonna probably tell you guys for a while because, like I said, this climate is dangerous. But you will know, right? Like, when that day comes, you guys will realize that, like, my accent will change. My accent will change. My environment will change. And you guys will see that I'm not in America. Okay, one day you'll see that, right? But I'm not gonna, like, flash it because, like I said, I realize how bad of a state this country's in. So, if you are a dual citizen, if you are an American citizen and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, I just want you to know that there is something you could do about that, right? You still have the power to leave. And while we even have the chance to leave, if you are unhappy and you're deeply disturbed by what's happening in this country, you're the only person who can change that. Like I said yesterday, you cannot wait for your family or your friends or even your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. You cannot wait for people to tell you how to live your life, right? The Americans who already left during the pandemic, which I wish that I was on TikTok, because if I was on TikTok during the pandemic and I knew what I know now, I would have been left. Okay, but I was not on TikTok, and you guys know I wasn't on TikTok because I told you guys that I was not on TikTok, right? Guys, so the way that I feel about it, hi baby, the way that I feel about it is, man, if I knew what I know now, I would have been out of here. Honestly speaking, I would have been gone. I would have been gone, guys, but I didn't. I didn't. And I was still working a certain job, as we all have to, right, to pay our bills. Like, I was still working a certain job and I had obligations. So I wasn't aware, like point blank period. I wasn't aware, but I am now. I'm aware now of how easy it is to move, how easy it is to leave, how easy it is to make it, you know? And it's not as scary anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was scary for a long time, the idea of like not being in America, because when you're in America, they make it seem like this is the only country in the world. I mean, other Americans, I'm sure will agree with me. I mean, they make it seem like this is the only place in the entire world, and it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you actually travel and do your research, you'll realize how big of this world and how much of this world there really is to see. So that's what I think I will be doing is for the remainder of this term, of this presidency, because it's just so violent. I'm gonna try to, get out of here for a couple of years, and then if I'm able to come back, and I want to come back, emphasis on if I want to come back, then I will be back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be back. I have family here in America, that have migrated to America. So, I always have somewhere to go. I always have people to see, people to love. Like, I got people all over the world. I got family in Asia. I got family in Europe. I got family in the Caribbean. I had family all over the world. Luckily, I don't just have family, stationed in America. So I'm lucky in that regard, where if I wanted to live in Asia, I could. If I wanted to live in Europe, which is my home country, I could, right? I have the ability to do that. Now, people that don't have that ability, I still will encourage you, okay? If you're watching me, you're American, right? And you don't have family spread out, okay? You can still apply, right? You can still apply for other citizenships, for other visas, digital nomad visas, right? There's a ton of things now that have been invented for people to move around the world, to work while they travel. So it's not impossible, guys. What I'm trying to say, it's not impossible to find a way to get out of here. Okay, nothing is impossible. Okay, and while it's available, take advantage, because it may not always be available, because America's standing in the world is significantly low. Now, somebody else who thinks differently may not agree with that, but the general consensus is that America is dropped significantly, and we're not the go-to destination anymore. Okay, like me, three decades ago, 2 decades ago, maybe even more than that, right? America was the place to be. Everybody wanted to live in America. Not everybody, but a lot of people wanted to. Let me just emphasize on that. A lot of people wanted to migrate to America, right? That was the whole thing about, the American dream. That was a big thing. Okay, that's been busted. That bubble hasn't busted. People have woken up, and people have realized that nope, that's actually a scam and a lie. So it's not the same anymore, right? It's just not the same anymore. So yeah, I have family all over the world. So for me, I feel like God knew what he was, once again, because I do believe in God, I feel like God knew what he was doing, because out of any country in the world that he could have picked to have me born in, the country that I was born in, I love with all my heart. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I feel like extremely blessed, right? That my birth citizenship, where I was born, where I was raised, is a country I actually like. Because if the country that I was born in, if I didn't like it, I would have to figure something else out. I'd have to go to another place where my other family lives, right? Where other family members of mine live. So for me, I feel blessed because, I can question a lot of things about life, and I'm sure you guys watching can as well. You can question a lot of things about, if you chose your parents, if you chose this, you chose that, different things. But one thing that I know God did not make a mistake about is where I was born and where I grew up. God did not. God knew exactly what he was doing. So I'm looking forward to it, guys. I think that's more than likely where I will go back home. And my accent will change, and I think and I feel and I know that, I'll be way more at peace. You know what I'm saying? I will not be waking up every single day to this tyranny. You know what I'm saying? Like, this tyranny. Like, I will not be waking up in fear for my life, because the weapon violence is just out of control in America. And now that it's been addressed that this is not happening in, crime infested areas, this is happening in middle America. This is happening in suburbia, suburban areas. This is happening in white America, if I must say so. So the fact that this is a normal way of living for me is unacceptable. And I don't want that for any of you either. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're living in a country that makes you feel unsafe, then why would I want that for you? You know what I'm saying? As if you guys are subscribed to me who are watching, I don't want you to live like that. You see what I'm saying? So I don't understand that. And I think that there is a little bit of delusion. People hoping for someone to leave office doesn't change the reality, right? Like, when Obama was president, we still had the same problems. So to me, it's a lot deeper than just who's the president. Like, this is a cultural issue. And I think that people are fooling themselves if they think that this is not what it is. This is exactly what it feels like. This is exactly what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I just thank God that we have technology and we have ways to connect. You know what I'm saying? Like, wherever I am in the world, I have my phone, I have my camera, I can talk to you guys, right? My camera and my phone is not just because I'm in America. If I went to Australia on vacation, if I went to, an island for a vacation, I could still talk to you guys. So we have to still count our blessings that, whether near or far, we're able to still connect. And all my friends in America, I'll still be able to connect with them. And I've already invited them. A lot of my friends I've talked to, I already told them that this is a strong possibility in the near future for me is leaving. And I think it's what's best. I really do think it's what's best for me and my heart and my mental and my body and my well-being. And I can't take the drama. So I already let friends know, but listen, you're more than welcome to visit me. I'm a plane ticket away, I'm a phone call away. Like, I ain't going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like I will be back. You know what I'm saying? If I even can, because unless there's a war or something and this person in office changes something, then no, then I wouldn't be. And I'm also okay with that as well. You know what I'm saying? I told my mom, if I leave the country, right, and I'm an American citizen, right, but if I leave the country and live somewhere else, right, and something happens and I can't get back in, then I can't get back in. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to cry about that. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be somewhere else than be here. So that's a consequence, and that's a reality that I have to accept, is that if this guy, does something crazy, and American citizens can't get back in the country, then so be it. I'm already out the country at that point. So what am I going to do? What I look like over there, right? Stressing about problems over here. I'm not going to be here. Okay. So that's what I'm working towards, guys. I'm working towards that. My plan is in place. One of my relatives actually this morning just took her passport photos to get it renewed. So it's happening, guys. You heard it here first. It's happening. It's my family is waking up. I think slowly but surely, more family members than others are waking up and they're realizing how bad this is. And I love them dearly. I love them the same. Listen, if your family, right, even you guys watching with your family, I feel the same way about you guys' family. I don't want you guys to have anybody left behind, anybody in a bad situation, anybody lose their life. I don't want that. But the reality is that some people are of age and others are not. You know what I'm saying? If you're a young teenager, you're a child, and your parents take you somewhere, which is what happened to me when I came to this country. My parents migrated over here. If you don't have really a say, right? Because you're not an adult. You're not a young adult. So you can't make those decisions. But as long as you're an adult and you can, get a job and get income, and you can drive, and you can, cook, and you can survive, you can go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? But if you're a child or you're a teenager watching, you're going to have to convince your parents. Because if you don't convince your parents, or your parents are not going to see the light, then you're stuck. And I'm just gonna be blunt, like then you're stuck and you're gonna have to figure something out. Maybe when you go off, maybe when you're in high school, if you want to leave, you're gonna have to apply for a college outside of the country, which many people have done. I actually have a friend personally who did school in Italy. She did school in Europe. So I'm telling, and she's Hispanic, she's Chilean. She here watching as well. Hi. So I'm telling you guys, like, if you just like research, like, it's possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. Okay. And as long as the opportunity is there, you're able to figure something out, which is what I'm gonna do. And so yeah, I think it'd be right if I take you all along with me with the process. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very excited about it. I feel very good about it. I miss home. And you know, I just feel like, you know, enough is enough. And so, you know, this is not my official I'm leaving America video, but it's a semi announcement, okay? Because I feel like after what I saw, I'm like, you know, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. You know what I'm saying? And I love people dearly that live here. I have made so many wonderful friendships. But I know that my genuine friendships in my life will never leave me. Because I've had friends who've left my state and live in other states, right? I have a ton of friends who went to California, went to Nevada, went to Texas, went to, you know, Arkansas. I have friends from all over the world, like personally in my life, that have left my state already. And guess what? We're still friends. So that's another thing. If you're a good person, you're a good friend, and you leave a state or you leave a country, you're not gonna lose anybody if they're actually legit. You know what I'm saying? You're only gonna lose people who are trying to control you and not genuine friends or family to you. Right? If people that genuinely love you and want the best for you, they're not gonna care what you do. As long as you're okay, they're gonna support you, right? So that's how I see it. Like, you have to put yourself first, and you have to protect yourself. You have to protect your energy, to protect your health, your well-being. And if and everything from that is what flows. When you're an unhealthy person in an unhealthy environment, you're attracting more tragedy to you. And so a lot of Americans have left. A lot of people have left. And I said that in the first video too. And it's true. You know, I have a lot of neighbors who are either they're I mean, this one neighbor who I know is a Republican. Well, I should say is a Trump supporter, and he hasn't, since he's got back in, he's not been here. He's now in Toronto. Before, he was in the Bahamas. When Biden was president, he wasn't doing all this traveling. So they know what time it is, guys. People, just take it from me. People know and see what's going on in America, and they're not okay with it. And so at this point, you know what I'm saying? Like, money and knowledge is power, for sure. It's power for flexibility. It's power for safety. And so if nothing else motivates you about, you know, getting yourself together, let that motivate you. That if something was to happen to us, that we're able to get out of here. So I'm over it. I'm over the carnage. I'm over feeling uncomfortable. I'm over the hot weather. You know, I like variation of weather. I don't get that where I live. So I have my own reasons for not wanting to be in this state. And I'm looking forward to leaving. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. And when I'm at that airport, you guys will see it firsthand. I will make a video. I can assure you, I'll either go live or make a video of me boarding that plane, and you'll see me in real time. And I could promise you that. I'm not just gonna not record myself, but you know, it will be like probably very emotional for me, because I've been through a lot, you know what I'm saying? And the idea that I could have been gone at such a young age just because of a mall shooting, which is those who just joined, I had that experience when I was in college. And you know, I try not to think about it. I really try not to think about it, because I felt like if I dwelled upon that reality, it would really upset me. It would upset my soul. You know what I'm saying? So I think seeing what happened with this guy on a college campus, and how, you know, this is just a rampant thing. You know, the Catholic schools being shot up, universities being shot up, like saying that this just keeps happening, I think kind of like reconfirmed to myself, but you know what, it's time to go, and it's not going to get better. And if you want to put yourself in danger, then, you know, keep doing the same thing you're doing. But if you want to, you know, be in a country that is more strict on these things, and more caring on these topics, then you're going to have to leave. There's nothing else you could do. You can't wait for them to change. You can't wait for them to change policy. It may never happen, guys. It may never actually happen. So that's what I wanted to tell you guys. So thank you all for watching. I love you guys so much. I'll keep you updated. If anything else, you know, comes out about this topic or any other topics that I think I can speak to, I will. But I want the best for you all. I genuinely do. And I think it's really just time to kind of face reality. I think it's time for the American people to face reality, that there's a strong possibility this may never change, and we're just going to see more carnage and more carnage and more carnage. And I can't imagine my heart. And you know what? I'm going to put this out here before I go. My heart goes out to every single parent that's lost a child to gun violence. Okay? And this is not okay. This is not okay. And if you've lost someone, you know, to either self-infliction or to, you know, somebody coming up somewhere and taking their life, or drive by, whatever, anything to do with violence, right? My heart goes out to you sincerely. It's awful. And I can't believe that after all we've been through in America, that they would still do this and this would still happen in broad daylight. I cannot actually believe that there are still not things put in place to protect us. And it's crazy. You know, they rather save a couple dollars and put money in certain politicians' pockets than our lives. They care more about their paycheck than our lives. And I understand that you have to have money to survive, but what I'm saying is, if you work in the public sector, your care, your heart should be with your citizens. If you work for the people, you should care about the people. And I don't see that from this country. I don't see that at all. They care about the corporation, they care about their paycheck, they care about who is their candidate, and that's it. And until America gets a president for all, until America gets a president again for all, and generally wants what's best for the country, I don't think it's ever going to get better, and it's not going to get better, and it's gotten only worse. And on top of that, living in America is super unaffordable for most American people. It is crazy what they're charging for the low quality here. It's insane. It's actually insane. And there's like no benefits. So I just feel like, you know what, this is just not a good situation. And I think people are lucky. I think people that already left, and they're so generous to tell us how they left, and they're giving people tips and tricks. Man, you better listen to that, because, you know, like I said, there may be a day where these platforms are not here. There may be a day where these opportunities are not here, guys. So if you want to, you know, change your life and find a way to be, you know, digital and move around and figure things out, then you got to be on it. You got to be entrusted to know how to do that. You can't like expect people to come to you and tell you, right, this is how you do this. You have to ask questions. You know, I ask questions. Like I said in my other video yesterday, like, I'm not ashamed to message somebody, you know, who's living in China or living in Europe or living anywhere else, and say, how did you do this? Because because you know why? Because I'm taking control of my life and my well-being. I'm not waiting for anyone to come to me and say, do you want to know how I moved to France? Do you want to know how I moved back to, like, no, like, you have to be entrusted. You have to want to care about yourself in order to get results. And if you don't care about yourself, then these people in America, from my own experience and from your people's own experience, they're not going to care. If you're not on it, like be like white on rice, they're not gonna help you. They're not gonna tell you anything. Nobody on any mainstream network in America is gonna come on television and tell you that your life's in danger. They're not gonna do that. Okay. They may talk about it, but they're not gonna do a whole PSA and say, you know, alert Americans, we have people and families training their children and going to schools and take people's lives. Run for your life. Don't go here. Don't go there. They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to go on any PSA system and tell you guys that you're living in a dictatorship. They're not going to tell you that. Okay. They're not going to tell you that. Okay. So you have to think and do things for yourself. You have to want to know how to do it for yourself. No one's going to teach you. No one's going to tell you what number to call. You have to research it yourself, right? Like I'm taking control of my life. Okay. So as you guys know, as I said before, when I'm not on here, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. You know, I'm preparing to leave because I've had enough and I'm tired of the drama. I'm tired of the violence. I'm tired of just what we're living under. Okay. And I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's a good time to live in America at all. So I love you guys dearly. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe. I know I saw a lot of people subscribed yesterday, new subscribers, you know, people first time watching me. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me. You know, I'm very, very grateful, and genuinely, I just want the best for us all. And I think that, especially if you want to have kids, or, you know, you have family, or you, whatever, you know, your needs are, you know, I don't feel this is a very safe country to live in. And I have felt this way for a very long time. So I've kind of just had it, and I'm like, you know what? I have somewhere else to go. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to live in America. I don't have to be here. I don't have to. And I got to take back my power. We all got to take back our power and say enough is enough. And if, you know, you want to wait for someone to come, you know, take your hand up from the miry clay and lift you up, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. You have to do it for yourself. You have to want better for yourself. No one's going to want better for you unless they love you. Like, I love you guys, but I mean, I'm saying on average, they're not going to want to help you. So you have to help yourself. Okay. So I love you guys. Take care. All right. All the best. Bye. See you in the next